there's a healing part, there's a counseling part. There is, I mean, the purpose of what I do is to help people become aware of this wonderful spiritual thing in them, and then healing takes place for them on many different levels. I don't actually remember leaving the party. The next thing I remember is I was out of my body, looking down on my body was leaning against a tree with my legs straight out on the ground, and a police officer was crouching over me. The car was smashed beyond what you'd think someone could survive, and my head was cracked open. All white light around me, down where my body was in the car. It was nighttime. I don't remember there being like a succinct line between the light and the dark. It was just I was in the light and it was dark there. Behind me, again, how did I see that? I was not looking back there, but I knew it was there. There was a big circle of white, a different shade of white, and within there was this white being that was more just like all white, no features or anything, with another shade of white radiating off of that being. It wasn't really like seeing behind me, it was more just knowing that it was there. There was no features on the face, it was just this white light being radiating light. And so the being said to me, "You have to go back, your father wants you to stay." And everything just seemed so perfect. There was just a feeling to it, like the most wonderful feeling. And people say, "Do you have a body?" It felt like I had a body because it was a feeling, and there was a knowing and a loving and a, in the same way you're saying it wasn't really sight, it wasn't really the same as being a physical being. It was just this wonderful, wonderful thing that, and even I say that part of me wants to float into that. And I knew even seeing my head cracked open, it didn't bother me at all. It was fine. But the being behind me said, "You have to go back. Your father wants you to stay." I knew without thinking or questioning, the father was God, not my physical father. And I went back into my body and then came 2-3 days later in the hospital. I didn't know what to think of it. And it was in the 70s. There was no internet. I had never heard of a near-death experience or knew anyone who had any experience like this. So I was there. The way that I knew that, and still that rings true to me, is later on when I started studying with a spiritual teacher. It wasn't so many years later. It was pretty quickly after that I met this man who was a Sufi sheikh, so Islamic teacher. I was brought up in a Jewish family, talking to me about Jesus and Mary, and so yes, I met this, things just lined up. Something definitely changed in me, and then I didn't know what to do about it. I moved back east. My mother convinced me to, and I was working in my family electrical contracting business, mostly doing office work, doing some electrical work, but it was go to work, go home. I was living a normal life, and so a woman shows up at my door and says, I didn't tell too many people about it, but one of my friends from Colorado I told, and her sister showed up at my door saying, "I heard some cool things about you, and I know someone who teaches about what happens after we die." And then I wanted to know. So, but again, I didn't realize how cool it was that this woman just showed up. Like I didn't do anything, and it showed up and then introduced me to this teacher that I spent a number of years studying with. A teacher in the Sufi tradition, yes. The Mevlevi dervishes that follow the teachings of Jalaluddin Rumi. Yes, that is something that clearly happened after my near-death experience. The other things, I could see hints of it happening before. But so when I went to touch people, and still if I touch someone, my hands become warm. And a lot of times it doesn't feel to me like my hand's warm, but they feel the warmth. And to me it feels like they're warm, but to them it feels like I'm warm. And I just start to notice that. And, again, I didn't have any reference for what to do with this information. So I did from the very beginning get hints of what was going on, but mostly what happened is people would start to feel better. And I had a few experiences, and again, my mind was not quite getting it. And so, but things happened that there were no denying. There was one with a hands-on thing, one where I prayed for someone and I felt something happen, and it was for a friend's father. And the next time I saw the guy, he said, I think something happened because his father got way better that day when I did it. I don't know, I guess it's just part of my nature. Like, I didn't even think how it was weird or anything. So something happened, this thing inside of me, and I just kept being drawn and meeting people and learning and studying. So the first thing I really studied with the healing was polarity therapy. And so I was starting to learn a technique to utilize those abilities that I had and really make sense of it in my mind, where I could learn. And that's based on Ayurvedic medicine. So it's this whole system of, ancient wisdom and learning. So I knew things to do where I could direct that. And it wasn't like my mind just thinking it was weird and possibly just in my mind. My degree is in spiritual science, and there is a type of counseling and clearing that's part of that. But it's called spiritual science because we use the scientific method to explore and come up with scientific proof of these spiritual things. So I studied with maybe 5, 6, 7 people that I considered to be master healers that helped me develop my skills. The first one was at Sheikh, and he would say to me a lot, when I would ask him specific questions, he would say, you don't need to know that. And so there's part of learning the spiritual things where you have to let go of the thinking. And when you're trying to pin it down to something, it can't be this amazing infinite thing that's in the spirit. So he was really teaching me that. And he said to me right from the beginning, you're a sensitive. And he would show me, he used a pendulum a lot, and he had all sorts of, so I learned a bunch of different things from him. And I studied a lot of color healing with someone and different types of hands-on healing, and I just needed to know. It was like, that was one of the biggest things that happened during my near-death experience. Like, I'm on this journey, and it's like everything is, I need to learn about the spiritual aspect of it. For most people, and I say most people, but I know for me even, there's certain things, it's just way easier to have someone help you than to try to do it on your own. So when I do clearing for someone, something that I can do within sometimes just 10 seconds for myself would take way, way longer. The information is always get to the place that it starts to clear. Getting the information itself is not the goal, even though it's kind of cool when you see something and know something from someone's childhood, or, you can never prove a past life, but sometimes I see things. And again, if what I'm looking for is for that to start to move, first, usually I see it move, and most of the times people start to feel tingling or hot or cold in their body, and they feel it clearing in that way. It's all sorts of different things people come to me for. So I would say usually there's some sort of pain, either emotionally or mentally or physically. Some people do come to me, they just want to do better. They're not in such bad shape. I mean, sometimes people want to get a job. They come to me, they want to have a child, they want to do better in business, all of those things. I feel like I am on a mission, and you say that, part of me sometimes I want to shake people and say, wake up, but I know that doesn't work. So I'd say about 5 years ago, something happened where I was able to realize what I do in a way of not feeling like it was arrogant or kind of weird, that I was looking, I had started posting online, so I was always looking for things to post, but it was around Thanksgiving in the United States, so I was also looking for things to be grateful for. And I came across this email from a client from a few years before that really helped them. It was a woman who had a miscarriage, and her health was really suffering, and the doctors basically said to her, don't forget about ever having a child. At this point, we're concerned about saving you, because they thought she was in bad health and might not make it. after 2 sessions, she sent me this email saying, I don't know what you do, but I'm getting better, and the doctors don't know what to make about it. I heard, so her friend kind of pushed her to come see me. She didn't really believe in what I do. And, but I heard she got pregnant and then had a child, and I thought, wow, that is like really cool. And I love it. It's the coolest thing in the world, and that's all I could say. There's something that connects us all together, and it is synchronistic. Sometimes I describe it's like being part of the internet without the computers.